Hello, recording. New phone case. Very interesting to set up. Um, me trying to finish the 24 and 24. I've read 13, so I have 11 more to go. And that's what this is. I've done one of these before where I read 5 books. I don't know if this is gonna go up. For reasons. In the intro to that version, or part 1, I went through every single book that was on here at that time. I have cut out preemptively all the ones that I have read since then. So in that blog, and then one other in another blog, and I sped it up a little bit and whatnot, and now you get to see me talk about those books in that version.
Yeah, I am very worried that I did see someone talk about recently who was really depressed and saying that it was kind of boring. I think it's I've talked about something that was about vampires. I think it's adopted into vampire royalty family having to do competitions. I have a novel started me, which is a historical queer retelling of Pride and Prejudice. That came out later this year. It's just my most anticipated book of the year. The author, I think it was Sophie Bargain, which is book we talked about last year. Is the author that I think one is trying to non-binary stuff like that. So it's gonna be very inside how it is one that either because of or because here's this one. I want to read the first. Because I think if I do, I will up to 5. And then immediately I will die. So my is a Felix book, which is one of my authors. I own 2 of their books on my shelves, In Deeper Waters and So This Is After. I also read Spellbound last year. I started and I read like the first 5 pages of the prologue. I think it has to do with demons. But then I don't know if I can find it. But the cover is very snowy. I don't know pages. So kind of perfect for the correct. Here's the next one. Single Crave with Ray Masters in a weekend last year. Yeah. We're not talking about very. If Twilight was written nowadays, in like 700 pages, the audiobooks of the first 4 I think are there one week and another. So that was gonna be really easy to go. I like that one. I don't know if I want to know. This was okay. Yeah, this is essentially log yourself, which is something for me. Now also another thing here. A lot of earth magical things and also magical. Cyber this one basically. Brand I am in my princess era. Maybe I was probably. Maybe that will happen soon. It's what I know about it is presentation by side. That was under snakes. This one, here's complicated. This is the one I want to read first. I want to read the one really what I own, I'm all basically, like, I'm keeping track of it. I'm also all reading on audiobook, really. So I'm going to listen to it next week. The latest one, right? Don't have time. Another sci-fi. I own physically. I don't remember anything about it from when I first read it, but I do remember hearing about giant spiders. I'm intrigued. I'm finally. Guardian Moon is the one that's the most. Is when children on the this one's tricky because it is a it's so bad. I don't know. I know one size is so tiny, right? And then I'm scared of this, but I read War and Peace. Book cases, which is this one that I decided to do. I just started while I was on vacation. I put it on hold because I didn't have time. But what it's about is a woman who works, I guess, like a research doctor's office or something like that. Also runs the crime podcast. I think she has a show where she's stand up one person like that, right? And in the doctor's office, when he runs into this basically one from the she runs into a woman who was initially charged with the murder of a bunch of women. She's like a pretty rich woman. From like it was like something where she was on the crime she was one woman died, right? And she's pretty admitted. They're all like, oh, we must see her, right? And you hate on her constantly. And when came to trial, yeah, there's like no actual evidence, and she they go to prison and has since well anyway she was initially. But it says that she's just basically into her and doesn't talk to him for that fucking reasons. And so the podcast lead decides to interview what tries to interview her for her podcast. The whole thing features and yes, that's really interesting.
Hi, back to intro me. I have an issue called I kind of want to read all of these in this vlog. That is kind of low-key my plan. I may have to move a lot of things around to basically make this the last video of the year. But that's kind of the low-key plan right now. There are 3 that scare me. Like, yes, I do still have to reread Mockingjay before I can read Valor, Songbird, and Snakes. But that will be fast. And also audiobook for both. So easy, right? But the first one that scares me, Hellbent. I still want to reread Ninth House first, which is fine, whatever. But and hear me out. I have learned that Leigh Bardugo's books take me a long time to read, even when I like really love them. Six of Crows duology. So that's kind of not conducive to trying to read all 11 of these books in like 2.5 weeks. So that scares me. Because it could take me that amount of time just to read those 2. Supper of Wings and the Wings of Night. I fucking don't know the name of that book. If I remember properly, it's over 500 pages. It's also, I've seen more things about it now, and I don't know if I'll actually like it, and that scares me. I do have 2, maybe 3 books that I have to also read before the end of the year that I could replace in case I need enough one of these, or a few of these. So I have that going for me, thankfully. And the last one that scares me, Guardians of the Moon. Own it physically. It is over 500 pages. Should I keep in the part where I was walking to grab this and I walked directly to the corner of my dresser and hurt my shoulder. I think it's actually just under 500 pages. Epilogue. Glossary starts on 489. But do we see do we see the size of this font? It scares me. There's a running joke in one of the book clubs I'm in that this book scares me. Because I am the bitch who read War and Peace. And this scares me. She thickums. She really thickums. And then also, high fantasy. I'm in the middle of 2 high fantasy universes. I'm in the middle of, the Cosmere. I still have to read the last Mistborn book. So close to being done with Mistborn. And then I can make my way to the standalones. And then I gotta to the Stormlight Archive. And that scares me. More than this. And then I'm also in the middle of Game of Thrones. But of course, I just started another high fantasy. It's funny because I am 100% sure my 25 and 2025 comes out before this, and I have a lot of high fantasy on that too. So yeah, this is the one that scares me the most. I'm really scared of her. Like, I've heard good things, right? But I'm scared. But none of that matters. Because I should talk about the book that I'm reading, which is Otherworldly. Honestly, if it wasn't in F.T. Lukens and for this, I would DNF. Which is the same thing I had with Starry Eyes, where if it wasn't for this, I would have DNF'd. In the last part of this, right? Right. This is gonna be a 3-star. I already know it is. It's one of those YA contemporaries where it is a fantasy contemporary, but YA contemporaries where I hate all the side characters. Like, everything bothers me about them, and they're more there in this than it was in Starry Eyes. Like, one of the side characters that I really despise is the main character's cousin. There we go. Can't think of words. Ellery's cousin. And the way she treats them, I don't like it. Like, just let them fucking sleep in on their 1 day a week they have off. They are 17 years old, working full time. Let them take a goddamn nap. I like Knox fine enough. I like Ellery fine enough. Those are the 2 main characters. I'm kind of not rooting for the romance though. And that's kind of a main aspect in this. And, yeah. If this, I should actually go remove it from my wish list on Amazon because I don't want to own it. Right? Like, I love, In Deeper Waters so much. I really liked This Is Ever After. Spellbound was fine. This is less than Spellbound. I don't remember. I think I rated Spellbound 4 stars. This is, I may lower that to 3.5 and give this one a 3. I'm not having a great time, but I'm pushing through, and that's that. I think I have 4 hours according to my Kindle left, so I do want to try to finish it today. I'm doing a bunch of other work today, but I'll try to finish it today. And then what's gonna happen is I'm going to do a random number generator to pick which next one. I do have a good chunk of these on Libby right now. We're not talking about it. 1, because it's on Libby. 2, because I have family time tomorrow night, and I do love reading gay shit during family time. Bonus points if it's author of color, okay? And I'm just saying, that's how I got through most of the mystery series, let's be real. I'm just saying, this Wicked Fate fits that perfectly. So if I do manage to finish Otherworldly today, that's what I want the next one to be. But we'll see. Oh, I should also mention, I am still, 2 chapters into the Book of Cold Cases. This is a Simone St. James podcast, mystery thriller where, a generation ago, there was, a bunch of murders of men, and, they, arrested this rich woman, pretty rich woman, and then, they couldn't find evidence that she actually did it, put through trial and everything, and, since then, she just, never leaves her house. Valid. Fucking valid. And then, the main character who runs this true crime podcast / website, recognizes her and interviews her for said podcast. That's what that one is. I'm only, 2 chapters in, so I have, no thoughts and opinions yet. I think it's gonna be told timeline like the other Simone St. James that I read, which I loved. Hence why all the Simone St. James are on my TBR. we're recording on the iPad, so hopefully everything is okay. I have not finished her. I have like 19% left, but there's a good chance during family time I will finish it. And in case I can pick up one of these, might as well roll the generator, right? Right? Thoughts and opinions are, it's very predictable. Like, there was a thing that happened to one of the main characters, and I went, like, as it was happening, I was like, this is what's gonna happen with this object, isn't it? And yeah, 100%. I will give FD Luke and Sis, when they were kissing, I was kind of like, okay, I kind of get the relationship. Let me do it where you can actually see it. 1 to 10, because those are the options. Still that right? Yes, because I accidentally clicked the things. Let's go 10. Oh, I know what that one is. Well, that's easy. Where that's the book of cold cases. I gotta figure out how far I got in that. It was like 9%. I was like 2 chapters in. That's fine. That's fine. I'm fine with that. Oh yeah. I think once I get into it, I will be hooked and I can read most of it in one day. So that's fine. That's fine. I will come to you when I have an actual update about my reading. I did what I read. Ignore other things to the side to some of these. I am still doing this bookathon for the rest of the year. So when I roll, because I'm doing 3 at a time. Technically I'm doing 4 right now. We're not talking about it. I did get doubles. I hate myself. I'm just gonna mark it on here if it matches to fit one of them, because I'm not writing them down until I finish them. I brought my spray so I can actually remove otherworldly, because that's just, some of them have been on for nearly a year, and that means they're kind of stuck. There we go. A little bit of residue there. There we go. We finished otherworldly last night. I did it 10:30. I'm gonna be honest. Last 20%, I was half skim reading, half speed reading. Listen, I don't even think I've talked about what this book is about. It follows Ellery, who is living in the city. This whole area is just like a permanent winter for 5 years, and then their family has been running a family farm for generations, right? But because constant winter, farms aren't really able to do, so they moved to the city, dropped out of high school, get confirmation they dropped out of high school to do this, to move to the city and live with their cousin and her girlfriend, to work in a diner, to send back money back home. Yeah, I'm not gonna go into depth about that whole aspect because I have thoughts and opinions about that. Okay, apparently as soon as I hit record, it's time to clip the dog's toenails. So I am back. I think he's gonna have fun with that. Where was I was talking about the gods. The one that's important is Nox's god / queen, which is, she's kind of the goddess of death, kind of. It's confusing. And part of it is that she uses Nox to make deals with humans. Well, Shade to make the deals in Crossroads, and then Nox is sent to help those deals come to fruition. And then she gets that person's soul for eternity, right? Depending on what happens and what they want. And Arabelle made a deal for the secret to life, right? And so Nox has been with her for 5 years. I really hope you can hear the dogs in the background. I'm trying to get right out. So cough, obviously that's why the winter happened, and whatnot. And yeah, in the very beginning, Arabelle finally makes the elixir of life and then is immediately killed by the Shades, because they want the elixir, and they go to take Nox back to his realm, the queen's realm, but because of the constant winter, basically none of his messages have been able to get through, and he's been unable to get messages back, so he doesn't understand what's happening, and he's worried about his home, so he runs away, and then he runs into Ellery, who he's seen around, and then Ellery helps him out against the shades, and then blah 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 blah. All this was a secret plan by the shades to become more human. Do we know why? No. No. Right. And then what else happens? So that's happening, and then Nox's plan is to then make a deal with Ellery, not for their soul or anything, but so that he can stay in the human realm for a little bit longer, right? To figure out what's going on and what to do before he goes back to the Queen, right? Where he will lose all his memories, so that's also a thing, right? And so he goes to tell Ellery, and of course, because Ellery's whole entire life was upended and has to be the adult in the situation, very evident in every conversation they have with their mother, oh my god, then and do everything themselves. They strongly do not believe in magic and supernatural, especially that particular goddess, because that is the same goddess that their family wastes half the money that they send home, right, to pray to, and then nothing happens. So like they were raised in basically that religion. You know, you get the vibes that's happening here, right? Raised in this religion, and then because and like constantly spending money that they don't have on it and all this stuff for this god, to then nothing happen, everything's still sucking and having to take over, right? And so because of that, they don't believe in her, and so when Nox is all like, I need your help because all this magic shit, Ellery's like, cool, fuck you. And then Charlie, who is Ellery's cousin, and her girlfriend Zeta help out Nox, and there's like a whole bunch of things with like Ellery having to learn to trust other people and accept help, and whatnot, and Nox and Ellery making a deal where Nox will help Ellery figure out what's going on with this magical winter. Meanwhile, Ellery will help him have human experiences, including love and kisses. That's actually written down on the list. So that's fun. Cool. Charlie's character grew on me, but I really didn't like her, okay, throughout most of the book. And that's kind of an issue because she's kind of there all the time. Yep. And that's fun. She's like the side character that I had issues with. Zeta was fine. I like Zeta. It was Charlie. Okay. And then yeah, that's what happens. And then very obviously, the whole reason that everything has been happening, the winter and whatnot, is because of that deal and what the shades were doing. So if Nox had just gone with them, then the winter would be over, and they tell Nox this so that the deal is complete. But technically the deal is not complete because there's still Ellery's whole entire portion of it, right? And so then they have to, Nox has to keep the secret because he doesn't want to tell Ellery, because he has a thing for Ellery about the fact that it's totally his fault. No, it's not. That the winter is happening. I will give Ellery this. Ellery, I was worried that Ellery was gonna learn about this eventually, and then Nox did eventually tell him, and be like, oh my god, it's your fault. But no, Ellery was literally like, hear me out, not Nox's fault. He didn't know this, and also the shades were the one that did everything. How was he supposed to know that if he stayed, it would continue the issue that was started because of the shades, right? Ellery talks back to gods a lot. Dies at one point. We're not talking about it. It was very obvious what was going to happen with the life elixir, and then the scene started happening. I was like, ugh. and then has to go to the other world to get Nox back, and hope that Nox remembers at least a little bit of them, which he does remember the love he had for them. And then they're happy after, and it's summer. Yay. 3 stars. It's exactly, I knew it was going to be a 3-star around 15% of the way in, and I was like, oh no. It really saddened me too, because I was like, F.T. Lucan is one of my favorite authors, and I get that like every author's book can't be spectacular or really good, but still, it was let down and I'm sad. When will I continue Book of Cold Cases? I don't know. I found out where I am in the book, and I found that chapter, and I got to it. Like, I opened the page to that number. I just downloaded Hellbent. That's it. I should probably read Ninth House and Mockingjay, so those are out of the way, but, you know, why would I do that?
LOI, me updating after like a week. No, I'm not done with the book. I'm only... Okay, if I actually just like sat down and read, I would be close to done. I'm planning to finish it tonight, so I'm gonna figure out what the next one is. Also, while I update you at the halfway mark, which is also right after part 2 starts of Book of Cold Cases, which is interesting. I think I already talked about how it's like a true crime type thing. It's also like commentary on the genre that is true crime, while also being commentary on media when it comes to crime and murder and whatnot, especially when a woman in that space. I mean, I could go a whole in-depth thing about that, but it is like a whole commentary on that, right? Because we learned that Shia, that's how I'm gonna say her name's pronounced, was kidnapped and almost murdered when she was a child, like 10 years old, and so that's why she's into true crime, right? And everybody thinks she's crazy, knowing all these fun facts and all this stuff, and then is investigating Beth, which is like the whole premise, who was, I think, acquitted is the proper term. Like, she went to trial, but there wasn't enough evidence. Like, the killer left notes at the bodies, and the handwriting analysis, which like was in the 70s, so like nowadays we're like, that's not valid enough to arrest somebody, right? But that was basically the main piece of evidence they had, and it was inconclusive. The other thing was that her father's murder years prior, with a B&E, was done with the same gun, so it's definitely like some kind of connection, right? And then the only other thing is that a guy who happened to witness or be in the area at the time of the second murder happened to see a redhead woman, but he was also drunk, right? Which is like a whole thing why, like, on the stand he was like, yeah, also I was kind of drunk, and so that kind of put a wrench in the police's whole entire thing, and so they heard redheaded woman and just assumed it was Beth, and they went crazy with it. Jack, I want to say his name's Jack. It's not actually Jack, because his last name is Black. I think it's like Jonathan. It also starts with a J. Is the head detective. There's another detective, Washington, who really does not like Beth, because she's not like your typical 70s woman, who, like, she doesn't want to be a housewife and mother and stuff like this, right? There's also that whole aspect where, because both her parents are dead, and so because that one, she's grieving, because it was like pretty close together, she's grieving both her parents and that much, but she also doesn't like really have any friends except for the people that she goes out and drinks with, right? And so there's this whole entire media play on her and how she doesn't have friends, and she's very quiet and stays with herself and just drinks a lot, and that's why Beth likes Shia, because Shia recognizes that's because she's an orphan and she's like 23, like, right? And she's dealing with all that, right? And so not Jack, Black. I'm gonna have to just call him Black. Washington strongly believes, the part that I just read right before I went to bed last night, was her actually being arrested. And Washington purposely made it look like she was like a perp, in front of all the cameras and whatnot, as her lawyer was very clearly like, hey, you are like manhandling my client. This is very not okay. Even Black was like, hey, what? Like, this is not how we arrest people. Like, he was like strongly, when it could have just been like this, and they didn't initially plan to do handcuffs. Like, Black tried to stop him, all this stuff, and Black very strongly believes that she didn't do it. Like, he has been trying to figure it out. And then one night, she gets drunk at a bar and he drives her home, and he realizes, hey, you didn't do it, but you're also not telling the truth, and that means that you're covering for someone. And I have theories. I'm not gonna say what they are, but I have theories. We learn also that people think that her mother was crazy, because she went someplace when she was 19. She was sent away to a place when she was 19, so she must have gone to mental institute of some kind. I don't think it was that. And I kind of got confirmation when she was looking at records, property records, she was, that the place that she ended up going to was named after, this kind of gives you an idea of what my theory is, but was named after a woman who was big about women's rights, I think in the 40s, don't quote me on that, especially as single mothers, right? Unmarried mothers. You picking up what I'm putting down? Also, you think this all is enough, but there's also weird ghost shit. And Beth is a self-named alcoholic. She says that she's an alcoholic. She's currently not relapsed. She has relapsed multiple times. I think the way she worded it was something like she's been an on and off again active alcoholic for decades, but currently she's not. So like, she's always an alcoholic, but currently she's not practicing alcoholic. And so but the first time the ghosty shit happens, you're like, okay, is this in her head? Right? That's a whole thing. And then the first time she is at the place, weird shit starts happening, like drawers opening on their own, blood coming out of taps that are turning on their own, like recordings turning off, and then the recording of like the interview, when she's listening back to transcribe it, there's a woman's voice saying, "I'm still here." Oh, okay. That's fun. Did I mention that Black also worked on Chia's case, the killer, when she was a child? And there's a whole thing with that guy possibly getting parole soon. Hear me out. If you're murdering little girls, like, I don't think you'd normally be able to get out on parole, but oh my god. You know, but that, so they have like that connection, but she doesn't remember it, right? So there's like that whole thing. Also, she has not interviewed Ransom, who is Beth's lawyer yet, who was like the family lawyer, knows a lot of the family secrets, but not all of them according to her, not according to Beth. But yeah, that shit happens. That recording then deletes itself. And then she goes to the house again, eventually. She braves it, she goes back. To then experience a lot of the same stuff, but also she Beth's like, hey, go upstairs to check out the office, all the stuff, because like she hasn't moved anything or thrown anything away since the 70s, since really her dad died. And in the 60s, no, it would have been early 70s, because it was 77 when she was arrested, and she was like 23 and she was 19 when her dad died, so I guess it would have been early 70s. So, but like, we see that she tries, like, she actually does throw them out, but it all magically appears the way it was beforehand. And that's not suspicious. That's not weird at all. So Beth's up there, and or not Beth, Shay's up there, and drawers and stuff are opening on their own. There's papers that say "I'm still here" on them. There is pounding on doors and a bunch of other weird stuff, and she freaks out, obviously, and runs away. And then Beth's like, "Welcome to the game. You've almost figured it all out." you and this just reminds me of what was the other Simone St. James, The Broken Girls, where it was like there was like this whole aspect of trying to figure out what happened then, um, and whatnot. That's the same, and how there's kind of this supernatural ghosty aspect thing that's happening, but like that's not the important, like that's just a thing that's happening also. Um, that low-key points her in the right place, but like it's just another thing that's happening. Which I kind of like. Like it's slightly supernatural, but also like there's a lot of shit going on. Anyways, I have like 3.5 hours left if I just pick it up and read it. So let's go. Ready for this? Ready for this? I'm gonna do this part now. Ready? Is it? I'll darken it a little bit more so you can see it better. There we go. We're doing it on the iPad this time. Generate. Okay, it went through. It's an 8. Do we see this? It's an 8, which means it's second to bottom. You know what? It's Children of Time. I don't mind that. I want to read that one. And also, I did play wrong with the buzzword-a-thon prompts. That I haven't done yet. Because I've canceled another vlog, a bunch of stuff to make sure that this can happen. And so, because this matches one of them. So actually, that's good. I love that for me. Yeah. I would have liked, like this one or this one or this one, because it also matches Spookalocathon, but whatever. I still have not read Mockingjay or Ninth House. I almost started Ninth House last night. I almost did. I opened it for 5 seconds and then closed it again. And I do have to read Mockingjay because my loan of the audiobook is 3 more days, but that's another me issue. But yes, next one will be Children of Time. I love that for me. Goodbye. I will talk to you when I finish Book of Cold Cases.
I have to spray. I finished Book of Cold Cases finally. I love marking. Because technically, I started it with the physical book when I was on vacation. So it took me 91 days. That's very funny. Okay. Thoughts and opinions. My main theory was right. It tells you that at like 55%. Like it tells you that aspect pretty earlier on. So I get why it's labeled horror over mystery. I'm sorry, Graph. Because a lot of the haunting ghost shit for the second half is the important stuff. Like the mystery is figured out at that point. You're just waiting for the dots to connect in the characters' heads. Which is fine. There was just like the whole second half, I was like, because she had brought up the fact that like Beth is telling her for some reason. Like they figure out why now. But like why her type thing was coming up. And like I thought it was gonna have to do with the case of her past when she was kidnapped and almost murdered by that guy. And so I was like, okay, there's gonna be some connection there. Maybe she's like the secret daughter of Lily. You don't know who Lily is, don't worry about it. Like maybe she's the secret daughter, like repeating of history or something. Or it could be like Beth, where she like caused like the cycle continue type thing. Maybe with Detective Black. I didn't know. Like I actually expected to be like connected. Maybe like there was like a brief second in my head where I was like, maybe the killer was one of the other victims. But then I was like, of the lady killer, which is a whole case she's trying to solve. And then I was like, no, that makes no sense because he's in jail and the parole hearing's coming up, so that makes no sense. And then I thought maybe he got, like, he did do that to Shia, but like he was framed for the other murders that he is in jail for by the killer, or like they just gave him the moniker of killer for those cases and whatnot type of thing. But no, there's like no other connection. Like there was no reason why. Like I was expecting Evelyn Hugo when she's interviewing Evelyn Hugo. A lot of that aspect is very similar to this. And she learns the whole reason why Evelyn's telling her a lowly writer is because of the connection with her father and her ex-husband, one of her ex-husbands. Like, that's why she told her. And it's like part of the reason why Beth is doing it is very similar to Evelyn Hugo. It's all very similar to Evelyn Hugo in that way. I'm pretty sure Evelyn Hugo came out. I can't. I was just gonna pick up my book to check, but I can't because I gave that to the fish for their birthday present. So like, right? Like, I thought there was gonna be some connection like that. Maybe like her mother had an affair and her actual father was connected, or maybe her parents were like one of her parents was the child of Lily's biological father. Like, some connection there, but there was none. And so that part kind of felt like a letdown. And I get why there's not another connection, because it very much was split like half and half. Once you reach part 2, it's horror thriller. The first part's like mystery horror, and the second half is horror thriller, right? Like, I get it, she wanted that difference, but I, in my head, wanted something else, and I didn't get it. Also, I put this is the only clean hoodie I had on, and it's cold, and I have a migraine, and I didn't realize the connection. Technically, there's no FBI in this book, but there are police throughout it. Was I happy when she ended up with a guy? Yes. Was I sad that Black and Beth never ended up? Yes. Like, I get why. But like, I just wished. Anyways, that letdown is why it's a 4-star. It's very much Broken Girls mixed with Evelyn Hugo. Like, it's like if somebody smashed those books together, that's what this book was. Which, yeah, but less gay, I guess. So that's fun. The commentary on true crime and aspects of whatnot, maybe it wasn't supposed to be a commentary. It felt very much like a commentary on it, but at the end, that's what she is doing. Like, she's a true crime podcast host and book writer, which like makes sense. She needs to do something because after everything she got fired because she's now famous, which feels illegal, but especially in this day and age, though I guess it takes place in 2017, so that was more common back then. Now it's more common to people just become famous overnight accidentally, right? So yeah, that's my thoughts and opinions about Book of Cold Cases. 4 stars. I liked it. The end. I do like in this one over Broken Girls how the ghosty weird aspect is like not like I could put in my head, I have theories on why it's happening, right? But what the ghosts are and what they're doing and what their goals are explained in the book. Meanwhile, in Broken Girls, it was like this whole time there's this ghost there, and like it's never explained who the ghost is, what the ghost is doing. Like, this whole time I thought it was one thing, and I think that's the idea, but I'm not 100% sure still, like a year later. Anyways, that's my review of Broken Girls. Next up is Children of Time, which thankfully does mark off something for my buzzwordathon because, woo, hi Bella. Anyways, I'll talk to you when I get like halfway through that. I gotta start reading that, like, now. I think I can, I'll probably get it off later. I didn't get the stuff out. Remember when I said I was gonna update you halfway through it and then I did? Okay, in mean defense, I spent like one day reading like 30 pages of it, and then I didn't really read anything. No, I spent one day reading 6 pages, the next day getting to page like 32. Then I didn't read anything for a day. Then the next day I read 170 pages, and then last night I finished it. I read the rest of it, which is 400 pages. Listen, I get why people like it. Let me tell you, Stopus fucking tells you nothing. And that's the one thing I'm gonna have to give this a negative for, because like, I didn't know what I was going in for. I was like, I don't even know what this is. So basically, humanity is dying and Earth is dying. And so there is a thing where they made like this drug to make the evolution especially of intelligence for apes, much, much faster, and then terraformed a whole planet for them. There's like a bunch of these projects, right? And so, they were about to go do all that of like the planet was terraformed, and they were about to send down the apes with the drug, right? When, it is sabotage, that's the word. And basically war, blah blah blah, people who are like, hey, this is like not something we should do ethically, like what, and then blah blah blah. It's not that important, and it's kind of hard to explain, but basically what happens is the drug does end up on the planet, but the apes blew up or died in the war. There was like war, a bunch of people died, and then there was an ice age, and then humanity like barely managed to survive the ice age, and then once the ice started to melt again, because of the war against throughout humanity, there was a bunch of chemical warfare. That's the phrase I'm trying to think of. God. And because of that, bad things in the air that was frozen in the ice. So once the ice starts unfreezing, starts affecting the people. And so there's this whole thing where anyone who was like in space when the war started, sabotaging happened, died, right? So like there's nobody keeping an eye on all the terraformed planets, all these projects, all this stuff. And so the last of humanity scrambles together all the records they have of these terraformed planets and old materials to make ships to go throughout space and go to each of these terraformed planets to try to like survive, right? And so we're following one of these ships, the Gilgamesh, which is going to the planet that we learn about from the very beginning, with the apes, but the apes died. But you remember how I brought up the Drexel ended up on the planet. Spiders. Luckily, that's the one thing I knew about this was spiders. You know, it was me in chat with people as I was reading it, being like, the spiders have a god. I think my sister at one point went, hey, maybe it's just a radio broadcast. And technically it was. Technically, the god was the radio broadcast of the mental link. Like, the woman who created this program initially did, like, die, basically, in the sabotage. But she was able to put her subconscious into a computer, right? All the chaos that could be happening, and also my phone angle sucking ass. Why I don't start the clip because it kept on fucking up. The angle did. Anyways, part 2 of me talking about this. So yeah, they have their own religions, society. The wars that the spiders are having, both religiously but also interspeciesly, is paralleling the humans and the Gilgamesh as this one guy whose whole entire thing was studying the old empire, the people before, right, that made this whole program, and him being continuously reawoken, right, as humanity is just going more and more crazy, basically. They've been stuck in space for who knows how long at this point, like thousands of years, right? And then because of this, like, the Kern, who was the lady who made the program, the version of her in the computer won't let them down onto the planet, right? Because she's like, no, my precious apes, it'll ruin the experiment. So she tries to send them to a different planet. A bunch of other stuff happens, and so humanity is trying to survive and fighting themselves in the process. It's a lot of him slowly realizing by continuing in the eye of the old empire, they just followed in their, also, like, following in their footsteps also made them follow in their mistakes of interpersonal war. Yeah, and so that's basically all it is, and then eventually they end up back at the, like, it's like 500 pages of that, like, that paralleling each other, and then they eventually end up back at, the planet. At this point, the spiders have made spaceships, gotten to the god Kern's ship in space that's been sending, math problems down to them, no, like, hoping that once they get to the point of being able to solve the math problems and send responses back, then, they will be intelligent enough to, be like, yes, humanity has survived, blah, blah, blah. So, make us a, rocket ship, get up to her, send a thing that's like, hey, we're spiders. Like, find a way to communicate with her, be like, hey, we're not apes, we're spiders. And then take her and put her consciousness in a new computer on the planet, and phone, please. Put her consciousness in a different computer on the planet, right? And so by the time the Gilgamesh comes back, even if they destroy the messenger ship or messenger blah 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 of Kern, it won't actually destroy Kern, and the spiders are in charge, and spiders are attacking this Gilgamesh, like, actually breaking into it. This is a lot of, like, humanity to be like, we have to fight them, because, like, there's no way spiders can be intelligent, right? As Holston, the main guy, the classicist guy, is all like, but guys, I think they are. And the spiders are winning for sure. To then learn, what they're actually doing to them is giving them, the spiders have this whole way, instead of, writing down their histories and whatnot, they can, through saliva, I think, transfer all their knowledge, right? And sometimes it can kill the one that you're taking the knowledge of, but they find a way to do it with the humans. And so then, the humans then have the knowledge of, oh, they're intelligent, right? And then it gets to the last part, which is just one chapter, in which we learn, this is the main spoilers, that they have co-inhabited. It was, like, difficult in the beginning, but they have co-inhabited, it's generations later, human generations later. And they're, like, great granddaughter of the main guy on the Gilgamesh that we followed, right? And the, I don't know how many greats, child of Portia, which is the spider, like, the different generations of the spider was always named Portia that we usually followed. So those two are going in space because they just got a message from one of the other known terraformed planets for the first time. Like, they just assumed that everyone else had failed. And so I think is it the next one, Children of Ruin or Children of War or something like that. So yeah, the ending was really good. I get why people like canned it. And my thoughts and processes, 3 stars. I am trying to narrow down what about sci-fi I like in books. Like, I like aspects, and I do like the whole paralleling thing. It was just so long. Like, it's 599 pages. Like, it was so long. And it was a lot. And, like, I know if this was in a show, I would eat this shit up, right? Because this is so my type of thing in all the sci-fi type of shows that I watch. This is, like, checks all those boxes. But apparently the sci-fi I like to read is different. So let's hope for good for Skyward. Anyways, because of that 3 stars, like, if this was a show, I would be hyper fixated. And I did put the second one on my TBR. But I don't think I'm gonna buy the second one. I'm gonna keep it. Like, I'm not gonna put it on my unhaul pile, but I'm not gonna buy the second one. Especially since they're so thick, and I was very careful about not breaking the spine. If you could see me reading, I was like this to read it. Thankfully I had the audiobook too. And that's how I managed to read 400 pages yesterday. Anyways, I'm trying to figure out what the next one is. Let me see it now. Oh, I forgot to mention, I've also been making progress in 9th house. Well, I wasn't reading many pages of that in the beginning. I was slowly making progress in 9th house and also reading other things. So, like, it's fine. 8. Our number is 8. I just plugged in my iPad just so I can do this because I haven't been using it much, but that's fine. Did it give me 8? I'm pressing it again. I'm just gonna press it a bunch of times. That's what I do when I do the, oh boy. When I do the Spookopolis board. It's a 4. It's a 4. I just zoomed in all the way so that you can see that. Which is, yes, an audiobook. It's crush. I'm so happy, actually. I don't think I will read the whole thing today, because that's what happened with, what's the name of the first one? Crave. It was for a weekend reading vlog. And then I was like, I'll just start the audiobook. The good news is I will always have the audiobook because my library has, I think, the first 3 or 4 audiobook always available. So that's great. Like it's unlimited copies. So I love that. Anyways, when I picked up Crave, I was like, oh, this is good. I'm having a good time. And then I didn't put it down, and then next thing I knew, it was 11:30 p.m. and I had just finished the book, and I was screaming into my pillow. And yeah, crush. I gotta talk about Crave. I rated it. Did I rate it 5 stars? There's a high possibility. I think I did. If I didn't, editing and me will put it in a comment. But okay. Spoilers for Crave, obviously, because I'm going to be talking about the sequel. It follows a woman whose parents just died, and her uncle takes her in, and he runs this private school up in the mountains. So she goes there. Unbeknownst to her, everyone there is some type of magical being. There's like this guy, I want to say his name's Jackson, but I don't think that's right. Who kind of has a thing with her, but kind of doesn't. Cough cough. Who's a dragon? He is a dragon. Right? Right? So, it's very much of her being like, I've always liked the idea of being in love with a vampire when she reads Twilight for the first time. Right? As the guy who is her love interest is a vampire, and she just doesn't know this. She accidentally finds out about the magic stuff. Everyone being like some kind of magical being, including her uncle and her cousin who is her roommate. So they're like, we don't know why you don't have magic, well, whatever. And then we learned that her love interest, who I don't remember either of their names, who is the vampire, his brother died recently, and so they trauma bond over the grief of him losing his brother and her losing her parents, and start saying I love you within like 2 weeks. It's like if Twilight, it's like for Twilight fans who are like in their mid-20s and want to have the same vibes as Twilight, but more in-depth world and not Mormonism. So obviously I had a great time. So that happens. Was his brother secretly left? There was something with that. And I think he also had something to do with his brother's death. And then, they both almost die. She saves his life. Everything's happy-go-lucky after, like, the main fight. Oh my god, everything's fine. Blah, 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 blah. And then, she protects him from getting stabbed. Like, somebody goes to stab him, and she jumps right in front of him, which is dumb because he's a fucking vampire, you idiot. And she turns into stone because she's a gargoyle, I believe. And that's how book 1 ends. That is so funny. I would love to thank the number generator for giving me this. This is gonna be great. I'm so happy. I can definitely read this whole thing this weekend. I don't know how long the audiobook is, because I'll tell you this, they're long. They're like over 500 pages. But again, I read the first one in like 1 day, so like I can totally do it in the second half of today because it's almost 12, like it's 5 minutes until 12. Though I still have to finish Arcane. I have 2 episodes left. Pray for me. And then so I gotta do that, but then I can read that if I'm still mentally stable enough a little bit today and all tomorrow, and that book will be done, which is good because I have just enough time to finish this if I take only 2 days for each of these books. So let's go. Well, now I feel weird because I thought this was the right color. Is it the... I checked this blue. No, it wasn't that blue. It's definitely not that. I swear I checked this blue, but it doesn't look right. Like, right? Like, that's a darker than this. So... Oh, is it the dark green? Is it the dark green? I think it's the dark green that looks actually blue. That looks the same exact color as the other one. What are you... I think that may be it. I think it just... the ink's dying in it. Anyways, I'm leaving as Dark Blue. I DNF'd Untamed, or not Untamed, Crush, and now I'm gonna read Untamed. Well, not right now. Yeah, I got like an hour and a half into the audiobook, and then I realized I didn't care. It was so dumb, I did not care. All the aspects that intrigued me, like what, I recognize Crave was dumb. I rated it 5 stars, but I recognize it was dumb. But the parts that, like, made it campy and fun and something I enjoyed reading is not an aspect in this one. Like, the whole entire, like, not knowing that he's a vampire, but he's secretly a vampire, and her, like, reading Twilight, because, like, maybe a romance with a vampire wouldn't be too bad. Like, that's not a thing in this, because she knows, and now she's also magical, which also removes the aspect that she's the only human in a magical school. So, also, like, everyone to know, I did get right that there is a character named Jackson. I just got wrong which character it was. It's him. He's a vampire. That took me a second. And yeah, the dragon does kill her. Also, that's another thing. She's been, like, in stone form for, like, multiple months, and she's trying to deal with, that whole thing. Like, waking up with no memories and what happened. Oh my god. Right? And, like, one of the first people who says hi, is super excited she's alive, gives her a hug, is the dragon guy, who almost killed her in the first book. And she's all like, it's a little weird, but I guess he's had multiple months to get over that. I'm like, get over the fact that he murdered you. No, you can be kicked out. Your uncle's the headmaster. Get them the fuck out. Like, right? Like, yeah, no, it was dumb. I didn't even put it in my book tracker, because I was like, I don't even want to deal with putting that in there. So I'm replacing it with that one, which will also finish my nonfiction goal. Okay. Be with you. I'm gonna do this fast. 1, because my sister just made me grab my margarita. 2, because I want to wash my hair. Last time I recorded me spinning a wheel to pick the next book, in which Ballad of Songbirds Snakes one, which I am a quarter of the way through, and I'm enjoying it. Like, really enjoying it. I was worried, but I'm having a great time. But I'm having a great time because I'm not trying to speed through the audiobook, blah, blah, blah. I'm just taking my time with it. And, I need to finish this tonight. So instead, I read all of Untamed. I read all of it. I can take this off. My finger's blue now, and so is that. Well, good news is, I finished my nonfiction goal for the year. And I am, I think, 71% of the way through. I read, yeah, I'm at 17 books read for 24 and 24. Obviously not gonna finish it. Every year I never do. Now here's my thoughts and opinions. The first chunk, first maybe like 20%, I was enjoying it. Like, I was having a good time. But then it started reaching into this issue that I have with a lot of self-help books, and it felt more egregious in this because it was memoir first, self-help second. So it was using her own life experiences to do this, which just made it feel like she was high and mighty doing this, which is talking at you. Instead of, like, telling you these things, it's like talking at you to do these things, telling you to do these things. Like, it doesn't feel like a fun experience reading. I don't know. Am I wording this right? Probably not. But, yeah, no, because it's also, like, her life experiences and why she came to these conclusions based off of those, it's a lot of her being like, this is things happening that happened in my life. And how I learned this. And so you should also do this because I learned it and therefore I know better. That's what it felt like. And it never not felt like that. Even in the parts where it's reiterating conversations she has with family members or her children, either one of her life partners that she's had, her mother, her sister, friends, random woman who come up to her and be like, I like you, but like, I've liked you from afar on social media, like parasocial stuff, but now that you're gay, I don't like you anymore because I'm religious. That's a whole aspect that we don't need to get into. The amount of times that people have, like, said stuff like that to her throughout this book. And then she'd get on her soapbox and be like, you're not wrong to think that everyone's gay now, but maybe everyone's gay now because we're not trying to fit ourselves in boxes anymore. But do a completely different metaphor than fit ourselves in boxes, because actually we're all cups of water, I guess, now. I don't know. But in all these conversations in which she's reiterating what happened, is a lot of her doing that to them as well, but also doing it to us. And so just using very complicated metaphors for no reason. Like, she does explain that one of her daughters does understand better with metaphors, so that makes sense. Use your metaphors for her. I get that. But she's using metaphors for everybody, and she's just talking at them about how their view of racism is wrong. Which I get the importance of, because apparently she was called a racist at one point because she was hired to talk about internal racism as a white woman trying to help with civil rights movements as a white woman, right? And so then people are like, you're not letting black women speak, therefore you are racist. So I get the point of that, because that's like an actual important thing that happened in her social media history, which I didn't know she had a social media history. I don't want to talk about it. Right? But then it just actually felt like this whole time she was explaining why she's not racist. Even though in that chapter, at the end, the point was that she shouldn't have to explain why she's not racist. That's not the point. The point is that we all have this internal racism. How did I pronounce that so wrong? Oh my god. And how to combat that, right? And that's what happened here. And she had to sit there and understand that herself about what was happening to her. And that's not, like, that wasn't what was important. What was happening to her wasn't what was important. It was the internal racism of white people throughout society in America. But then 98% of that chapter, which was one of the longest chapters, most of the chapters are very short, like 5 minutes max. In the audiobook, this one was like 18 minutes, right? And majority of it was her explaining how she came to this point to prove that she's not racist, going against her own point. Anyways, yeah, it was a lot of her sitting on her soapbox, talking at you about how she's right and knows everything, and how she came to these thoughts based off of her life experiences. Yeah. I don't know. Also, she spent a lot of it, like, I brought up the fact that, like, random religious people who used to follow her before, because she was apparently, like, Christian social media mommy blogger type person beforehand, before she divorced her husband, one, because infidelity, but two, because she fell in love with a woman, right? And so people would come up to her and be like, hey, I started following you because I am also Christian, but now this is happening, and, like, I don't know how to come to terms with that, right? And dealing with their homophobia at face value, and having to teach them about their own homophobia, right? And, like, there are multiple examples of this, and she uses it as a teaching experience to the reader as how you should also do the same. And I'm just saying, no. It should not be my job to have to teach homophobic people to not be homophobic. Especially when they come up in my face in a public place. Like, no, I don't feel safe. I should not have to do this if I'm feeling unsafe. But instead, she's like, it's our job. Right? Like, that's the vibe I was getting. And, anyways, I gave it 2 stars. And with that, it's the end of the book. Honestly, surprise is going up. There were multiple times where I contemplated just ending this vlog and replacing it with another gaming video, because I have a lot pre-filmed already, so I could have done that, but I didn't. I gotta probably erase that. It's annoying. But yeah, I read the whole thing today. that's that. Everything. I am going to read Ballad still this year because I'm currently reading it. And I don't know about reading Hellbent this year, but it will be definitely either probably beginning next year actually, because I do want to finish Ninth House and then immediately read that. So those both will get done soon. There's that. Rest of them probably not. Probably not if I know me. Listen, this Wicked Fate, I still have like 4 weeks on my hold at the library, so it's fine. It's fine. I'm gonna go drink my margarita and wash my hair because I'm cold as fuck. And goodbye. Thank you for coming to this vlog. Friday will be the other big vlog of the month that I was filming at the same time, which is very fun because I'm not going to be able to finish the reading for it until the day this goes up. So I'm going to have 24 hours to edit this other very large video. I fear what's going to happen there. So yeah, there's that coming out Friday. May have to become Saturday, because it doesn't, next year it's gonna be Wednesday, Saturday, not Wednesday, Friday, so I'm not too bothered if it comes out Saturday instead of Friday. Also, speaking of which, Wednesdays after this are gaming videos, unless if it's right after the new month quarterly wrap-up, then they will be gaming videos. Don't worry. I have so many ready to go. I'm done through January. It's fine. I play a lot of Planet Crafter. And that is everything. Goodbye. Thank you for coming to this video.